This show's getting crazier all the time. Alright, episode 5 of WandaVision has premiered. We are now over the halfway mark. And my god, this was a juicy episode. The longest one yet at 41 minutes. And just so much happened in this episode. So, spoiler warning as per usual. I'm gonna talk about everything that happened here. Or at least everything that is worth talking about for me. So you have been warned. And I know, I want really badly just to skip right to the end. But patience. We'll get there. So this juicy episode of WandaVision starts out, we're back in the sitcom in Westview, and we are in the 80s. Which is actually where my knowledge of sitcoms starts to come in. Because the very first sitcom I ever watched all the way through was Cheers. Granted, nothing in this episode really reminded me of Cheers. I'm just saying though, Cheers was the most successful sitcom of the 80s. So I was like, okay, if we're going back to this sitcom in the next episode, then the weird things are gonna have to start happening pretty early on. And sure enough, they do. The kids, Billy and Tommy, they go from being babies to being 5 years old pretty fast, and then they age up to being 10 years old. I feel like whoever's behind this reality is trying to get these kids to a certain age. If I had to guess, probably in their teenage years. And in this episode, we get Agnes again, Catherine Hahn's character. And my mind hasn't changed about her. I'm still pretty convinced that she is hiding something because she's acting fishy this entire episode. I mean, that whole awkward moment where she's like, should I take it from the top? That was one thing. But the moment right after the kids go from babies to 5-year-olds and she's sitting on the counter and she's like, kids, you can't control them, no matter how hard you try. I feel like that line had some sort of double meaning there, because literally Wanda cannot control these kids. She tried to put them to sleep when they were babies and it didn't work. She can't control the aging of these kids, so someone else is doing this. It could be Agnes, but it also could be someone who Agnes is associated with, like Mephisto, who could actually be this Ralph that Agnes keeps referring to, using that unseen character trope like in Cheers when Norm would talk about his wife Vera. But anyway, this episode actually does balance between the sitcom and Sword, which again, I did predict last week. I was like, maybe we will see both. So once again, I was right, kind of. I'll take the W. So yeah, Sword is still monitoring this anomaly, which Darcy calls the Hex. I like that. That's really catchy. Although one little detail I liked is the fact that they talk about, does Wanda have an alias, like a catchy nickname? And Jimmy Woo actually says, no, she doesn't. The fact that they have this conversation does tell me that by the end of this show, she will be known as the Scarlet Witch. I can pretty much guarantee that now. Because they brought it up here, which means it has to go somewhere. So I love it. By the end of the show, we will see Wanda be called Scarlet Witch. I feel like that's gonna be an awesome moment. But they also confirm one of our theories from last week. When we saw Vision's corpse, a lot of us, including myself, were like, she's reanimating Vision's corpse somehow. And we were right. We see the security footage of Wanda breaking into Sword, which I guess is where Vision's corpse was being held, for whatever reason. Wanda breaks into there and steals Vision's corpse, and now she's in Westview reanimating it. Darcy's question about how she's doing it without the Mind Stone, that's actually a good question. My guess, I mean, her powers came from the Mind Stone, so there you go. She's using her powers. They're acting as a Mind Stone that works with Vision. So yes, Wanda is in fact having dead robot sex. I've never been with a witch before, what's that like? Then we get to the dog, Sparky, which I hear is a throwback to the Vision comics where they had a dog named Sparky. But this dog seems to appear as if from nowhere. It doesn't have a collar, which means it doesn't have an owner. Where did this dog come from? It's like it was sent to the Maximoffs. And I think it was sent as a tool to get the kids to age up a little bit. Cause Wanda's like, yeah, you kids are 5 years old, you can't take care of a dog until you're at least 10. And then, sure enough, the kids age up to 10. And then who should show up but suspect number 1, Agnes, with a doghouse, making her even more suspicious to me. She's like, yeah, I saw through my kitchen window that you guys got a dog, so here's a doghouse. Which could be seen as, oh yeah, she saw through the kitchen window, she's the nosy neighbor, but why is she so nosy? She's keeping tabs on them, I'm telling ya. I feel like she's acting kind of like a puppet master, controlling the situation. Maybe she sent the dog. She wants the kids to age up. That's why I feel like later on, I think she's the one who killed the dog. Because she wanted the kids to age up again. Because that's what the kids wanted to do. But then Wanda was like, no, don't age up. And when that happened, I felt like Agnes was secretly like, damn it, the kids aren't at the right age yet. They need to age up just a little bit more. I don't know, that's my theory. I know, it might be hard to keep up with. But then when you think about it, you think back to the earlier episodes, when Wanda got pregnant, that also happened kind of out of nowhere. I don't think those are Vision's kids. Wanda can't control these kids, so someone sent these kids to Wanda. as if from nowhere. I think this could be Mephisto at work. That would make sense since Billy and Tommy in the comics are like pieces of Mephisto's soul or something like that. I don't know, I never read the comics, but I hear that did happen in House of M. So Wanda being unable to control these kids and certain other things that seem to come out of nowhere, like the dog and our surprise guest at the end. Like I've been theorizing, Wanda is not in complete control here. There's someone or something else behind the scenes, and I feel like Agnes is part of that. I can't stop all these mental red flags from going off in my head about Agnes. We'll get answers about her in time. Then we get to the scene where Vision awakens Abelash Tandon from his entrancement. And if you're a freak like me who tried to actually read all those forms on the sword wall last week, there's a part in Norm's form that describes this scene where Vision awakens him from his spell and he shows concern for his father and sister. So yeah, the people in this town are under some sort of spell. Is it Wanda's doing? Is it someone else's? At this point, I don't know. But the scene did a pretty good job at making me feel bad for this guy. Cause he's so innocent. I feel like Vision shouldn't have put him back under, because that was just mean. Then we get to one of the best scenes in this episode, where Wanda confronts Sword. Sword tries to use a drone from the 80s to contact Wanda, which I'll be honest though, that drone did not look like it was from the 80s. It looked pretty modern to me, but that's beside the point. Of course, the drone doesn't work and Wanda gets pissed off. You see her for the first time in this show leave the borders of Westview and confront Sword. She's in her Scarlet Witch getup and she's got the busted drone. She's like, "Is this yours?" And she tosses it to them. I was like, oh shit, you guys, you really stepped in it. And Wanda warns them. She's like, "This is your only warning. Stay out of my home." And yeah, I'll just say it. Wanda is seeming to regress back into villainy, and I've heard some people say this already, but I'm just gonna add more fuel to that fire. Wanda Maximoff here is becoming a sympathetic villain of sorts, because you do get where she's coming from. She lost her brother, she lost Vision. She may not be the one behind this reality, but she likes it nonetheless, and she wants it to stay intact. And you would almost be okay with it if it weren't for the fact that she is taking a lot of people hostage under a spell, or at least it seems that way. Again, maybe she's not the one controlling that, but the fact that all these people are under a spell and trapped, that doesn't really seem to faze Wanda. She seems to be perfectly fine with all these regular people being stripped from their lives. And that's not nice. That sounds pretty villainous to me. So yeah, I predict that by the end of the show, Wanda is not gonna be okay mentally. I fear for her future. I really do. But also another thing about this scene is that she addresses the director of Sword, Tyler Hayward. She calls him director, which means she knows him somehow. So I feel like that might go somewhere later in the show. I guess we'll see. It probably has something to do with Wanda's theft of Vision's corpse. Because she's like, "You will not take what I want from me again." And I was like, what does she mean by again? Did Hayward steal Vision's corpse from Wanda? Maybe? Possibly. And alright, now let's just talk about the end of this episode, the other best part of it. Because Vision's suspicion of Wanda has reached its boiling point. I love it, because Vision's like, "You can't control me like you control everyone else." And Wanda's like, "Can't I?" And she tries to get out of the conversation by rolling the credits. You hear the applause and you see credits start rolling. She wants out of this. It's so funny. But no, Vision argues past it. Like, while these credits are rolling, the conversation is still going. I'll admit, on first watch, it was kind of jarring. But then the credits buzz out and Vision gets really pissed at Wanda, which is what I wanted. Vision should get pissed at Wanda. Because we knew from the past couple weeks that Vision has started to get suspicious. So now he actually confronts her, which is great. I love that. And he mentions that he doesn't remember his life before Westview, which again kind of makes sense since, you know, he's a reanimated corpse. He's dead. So this new afterlife is in fact a brand new life. He wouldn't remember anything from a past life. Think about it. Do you remember anything from your past life? No? Didn't think so. That is, if you believe in that sort of thing. So that same thing applies to Vision here. And this is where Wanda claims that she doesn't know how any of this started in the first place. She claims that she is not the one controlling this reality. So my working theory now is that she has control over some things, but not everything. Example, she had control over the credits just now, but she doesn't have any control over the kids or the dog. I feel like Wanda is losing her grip here. Mephisto wants her children. Just saying. And then the big shock. The doorbell rings, and who should be there but Pietro Maximoff. But not just any Pietro Maximoff. It's not Aaron Taylor Johnson. It's Evan Peters. If you don't know who that is, he played Quicksilver in Fox's X-Men movies. As in, completely different universe. When I saw that, when I was watching this episode for the first time, I was like, what the fuck? What does this mean? Darcy's theory is that Wanda somehow recast Pietro? Which, maybe. But the fact that Pietro here is being played by Evan Peters, who played Peter Maximoff in Fox's X-Men movies, that's what his name was in there, that makes me think one thing. multiverse. This show, WandaVision, being the beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's Phase 4, is opening up the door to Marvel's multiverse. Seriously, where did this PHO come from? Did Mephisto or Agatha Harkness grab him from another universe and plop him in this one? Because if you look at Wanda's face, I don't think she recognizes him. He calls himself her long-lost bro, which gives her the clue that, yeah, he's Pietro. But even Vision's like, Wanda, who is this? So they don't recognize him, I don't think. So I get the feeling that this is a Quicksilver from another universe. Fox's X-Men cinematic universe. Which then your mind starts going, they could bring in other characters from that universe. We could see Michael Fassbender as Magneto. Or, I don't know, bring in Emma Dumont as Polaris, because that would be awesome. The point is, I feel like the MCU just opened its multiverse door, and I don't think it'll ever be the same again. We'll see more of this multiverse in Spider-Man 3 and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I can't wait to see where all that goes. It's gonna be huge. So yeah, in the end, this episode of WandaVision was my favorite so far. It was the biggest, it was the juiciest, it was the most mind-blowing. As for predictions for next week, I don't know, I don't want to jump the gun since I appear to be on a roll. So all I'm going to predict is that the kids, Billy and Tommy, are going to age up a little bit more, maybe become teenagers, and maybe they'll discover their powers. Tommy is a speedster, and Billy has magical powers. Maybe we'll see that in the next episode. But hey, who knows? So episode 5 of WandaVision, titled On a Very Special Episode. Have you watched it? What do you think about it? What are your theories and questions? And what do you think Evan Peters showing up means for the multiverse? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe.